Welcome everyone. A special welcome to our Zoom guests. Who do we have on Zoom today?
My parents.
Irene's parents are visiting us. Hello. So glad you could join us. Who else is here? Akenna? My parents. Gulshan's parents and Akenna's parents. Welcome. Thank you so much for watching us eat for 2 hours and staying for the program. I hope it'll be worth it. And who else?
My brother and in-laws.
Great,
Nice.
welcome. And so this has been an amazing year. I don't even want to say about it. It sure feels good to be coming back to normal. But I do want to just say a little bit about the fact that, Upstate didn't suffer in any degree the way, say, folks did in other major cities. But it was stressful. We were all on pins and needles. We were all knowing that we might have to be deployed to do things that we weren't comfortable doing, that we would be at risk medically, and we were at risk psychologically. And we were constantly changing. We had to keep reinventing how we ran the services. We had to keep reconfiguring everything on the fly, as did everyone else. But I think we did really, really well. And I especially want to thank actually last year's chiefs, one of who was here, Sharif, and the current chiefs, Neil and Rashid, who helped really keep everybody afloat and moving ahead. So we have a lot to celebrate today. I want to thank John Reedy for setting up the Zoom. Where's John? He's hiding.
John's hiding.
He's shy.
He's getting a microphone.
And Mary Phelan.
Yes.
And we all know who runs the residency program, right? So I'm going to start with, so this year we have an interesting array of speakers. The graduates are given the opportunity to choose a faculty member they would like to speak on their behalf. And we have a nice array of different voices this year. But I'm going to go first. Rashid, would you come up, please? I am shamelessly abusing my power as the program director. I have a long page-and-a-half speech, and you have to listen to it because it's about an amazing young man. And his sister is here with us today, and that was a real treat. So I was honored when Rashid asked me to speak for him. And so for the past several weeks, I've been thinking about it and what I was going to say. And a word kept popping up as I was thinking about what to say. And that word is Prince. And I don't mean Purple Rain Prince. Or Prince William, or Prince Harry, or God forbid Prince Andrew. I mean princely, or noble.
These are Tanzanite.
Magnificent. It's impeccable manners coupled with integrity that make the word work for him. I knew he would blush and look at the floor exactly like this right now. Because that's another one of his finest qualities that we all know, which is his humility. Rashid is a true servant leader. He leads by figuring out what people need and doing his best to meet those needs. Right? That's a true leadership. And it's not about him. right? It's about us. Dr. Ahmed was born and raised in Tanzania. He attended the Kilimanjaro Christian Medical College in Tanzania, where he was valedictorian of his class, and where he developed a love of neurology from working with an Irish tropical neurologist, Dr. William Howlett, who had a tremendous impact on Rashid. Rashid told me that during interview season in the US, he was huddled in his sister's basement in Maryland, sending desperate emails to residency programs around the country. Right? What? Remember where you came from. One of his emails landed in Mary Fallon's in basket, and she drew my attention to it. And I was intrigued because my daughter had spent a year in Tanzania, and we traveled and went on safari. Got to see the Serengeti, which is exactly how you imagine it, and never miss a chance to go. So that was a very powerful experience. And so when I saw we had an applicant from Tanzania, I thought, we need a resident from Tanzania. And he came in and he interviewed, and before he came and we were setting up the rank list, I was emailing Dr. Howlett about him, and I said, how is he on his professionalism? How is his this, that, the other thing? And Dr. Howlett, was it Dr. Howlett? You had two mentors. You know, checked all the boxes, right? So, but little did I know, who we were actually going to get. He's an extraordinary resident and a human being. He demonstrates enormous integrity. His every action is careful, studied, thoughtful, and sincere. He does what the situation calls for now, no matter how simple or how low the task. For example, he often would stay behind to clean up after the residents' lunches. He did that consistently from the beginning. He quietly volunteered to help distribute handouts at lecture. He speaks little, waiting for his peers to answer, and contributes only after others have had a chance. In assessing cases, he diligently gathers the history and collateral source material. He mulls over the chart notes, he examines the patient carefully, and he presents the case in a quiet and orderly way. Thank you. Maybe they don't want to hear me any better, I don't know. He's extraordinary in the preparation he makes for each day at work. MDA patients are complex, some of whom I have followed for years. And when he was rotating on neuromuscular, he reviewed the charts the night before. He would even go to the literature to read up on the cases he was going to see the next day. And some of them are rarefied diagnoses. In one noteworthy case with radiologically isolated MS, he read on the topic the night before, and the day of clinic brought me up to speed on what I didn't know about RIS. And so while he's extremely respectful of his peers and teachers, he still has the courage to challenge someone higher than him on the pecking order, if in a direct and tactful manner, especially when patient care is involved. This is another example of his fine integrity. And despite the heavy workload that our residents bear, and we know how hard you work, Rashid has been extraordinarily productive in his scholarship, presenting multiple abstracts at national meetings, including SPIN, AAN. Really, he's racked up quite an impressive list. Most impressive is his original study of a national stroke database examining 11-year temporal trends in medical complications of acute ischemic strokes in the US. And he presented this for us at Grand Rounds. And that's never happened before. We've never had a resident do a study on this scale, and generate data on this scale. And he's got the manuscript already submitted to stroke. So while Rashid brought all the necessary ingredients to our program,
It's really been a pleasure to watch him mature as a clinician, as a team leader. He handles all clinical situations with equanimity and care. He watches over the junior residents and medical students, yet he continues to seek feedback and strives to improve himself at every turn. Dr. Ahmed served ably as our clinic chief and worked with Neil to undertake a number of initiatives, including the lumbar puncture simulation, which was very successful. We had a record experience this year getting the junior residents certified in lumbar puncture. The Chief's weekly update, which really streamlines communication within the department, and the senior seminars where graduating seniors learn about stuff they need to know in practice, billing and so on, malpractice. Now in July, Rashid will begin a fellowship in vascular neurology at Harvard's Massachusetts General Hospital. And following that, he'll do neuro ICU, hopefully at Harvard as well. And then he's gonna do endovascular training. Rashid's dream is to go back home and establish a state-of-the-art stroke center in Tanzania. He has the grit, the smarts, and the leadership skill to do exactly that. And I have no doubt, and I'm sure you have no doubt, that that's what he's going to do. So Rashid, on behalf of the Department of Neurology and all of our patients, I thank you from the heart for 4 years of impeccable service. God go with you.
Welcome to the Resident and Fellowship graduation ceremony. This is my real pleasure to talk for Gulshan. And I don't know, similar to Rashid, probably a bit of blushing is going on there. I'm not the program director, Dr. Bradshaw, obviously, but I have also with permission, so. All right, so it seems like geography plays a role with the connection of the residents and the faculty. In case of Rashid was the Tanzania image. And for Gulshan and I, we come from the same country, Iran. So Gulshan, I've known her even before the residency, so I will get to the story. So Gulshan attended the medical school in Iran, in Urmia Medical School, a beautiful part of Iran, a city that I love also. And she graduated as a valedictorian, graduate 1%, top 1% of her class. She was the best intern of the year. She won the Young Investigator Award during her medical school. And after graduation, she came to Upstate as a research fellow. And that's how I know her from that time. She worked in a few projects during that fellowship, research fellowship, with one of the other faculty, and I was also, we worked a bit together. And then she worked also 2 years. She went to Yale for another research, a couple of years of fellowship there, and worked mostly on anti-seizure medications. So, the love of the epilepsy has been there before being at Upstate, so I haven't had much really to do with it. So she, during the, and then eventually we were lucky to have her matched with our program. So she stayed with us for the residency, and she was one of the fantastic residents that we saw during the few years of how She grew from the time that she was doing the research and then went to the clinical side and grow and grow. And during the residency, she, in 2019 and 2020, won the Resident Scholarship Award. And in 2017, she was part of the Upstate Neurostate team that won the championship of that year.
There's a funny story about that. Can I interject?
Of course.
This was hilarious. So the Neurostakes, for people who don't know, it's an annual knowledge-based competition where we compete with other neurology residencies around the state in a Jeopardy-like format. And Gulshan came along as a junior member of the team. We had a full complement, but she was there kind of as an assistant. And at the end of the contest, it was declared that a different team won. And she had been keeping score. She was like, no, we won. And they went back and they did the math again, and we won. So she saved the day.
That's wonderful. Always keep track of the score.
Like brownie points?
So,
Just like brownie points. Keep track of the
so we
brownie
talk a
points.
lot about, actually, especially this few years that the Leadership Academy has been established by Dr. Bradshaw and the residents have been involved. We have been talking about leadership more and more. I think, I mean, this graduating class is a good example of that, and Gulshan is a good example of that also. Of this development of leadership skills, and again seeing the growth and how the residents kind of blossom during the residency to a full mature neurologists and leaders that take the leading role. So Gulshan was the research lead during the last year of the senior year, and she did a fantastic job. She brought the...
I think that deserves a special
So the one of the sessions that was going on for the research kind of went to a new level with the leadership of Gulshan. And so I'm you know, one of the things that I had the pleasure of working with Gulshan several times during the time of residency as the ward attending, and it really, I can say, was a peace of mind when working with Gulshan, knowing that the patients are in her hand and the service is in her hand. And working along with her was always a peace of mind. She was concise, she was precise. She had a very good relationship with her patients and with her peers. So I'm going to read some comments, and these are not again from, if you don't believe me, believe the comments from the faculty and from the peers of Gulshan. So I start, okay, so this is a bit long.
Go ahead. That's all right.
So it's the words that describe Gulshan: hard worker, concise, accurate patient presentations, eagerness to learn, a caring neurologist who has great relationship with patients, and on one or two occasions I saw how attached some patients are to her. She's very compassionate. I recall one particular family she has a very strong relationship with, who he had a strong relationship with, who were planning to move to Canada after the 2016 election results. So that was, I made that one up. So they were planning to move to Canada, and they decided to stay in Syracuse because they wanted to have the kind of patient population. When she was a junior resident, one of the senior residents wrote, extremely reliable. What sets her apart is her empathy with patients and their family. Great team player, and she's a great example of what a physician actually is supposed to be. And Gulshan is a gem of neurology resident and will continue to show progress in the coming years, and as we saw. And when she was a senior resident, the junior residents wrote about her that, and actually, this was one of the attendings, let me get to that first. Special recognition of the work as a chief of service, in nutshell, performed as a junior attending, managing complex cases in both services, meaning the consulting and the primary team. And not only that, in the last year, I think she was a role model for students. I think every week I was receiving, because I was also her mentor, so I was receiving her MedHub evaluations from the various levels, attending residents and students. And every week I keep the resident evaluations, the student evaluations keep coming and coming. And they repeatedly paint her as a role model of how they want to be like her when they grow up. So it was always a pleasure, Gulshan, to work with you. So Gulshan was very productive in her scholarly activities. So she had a couple of peer-reviewed articles published, more than, or total, I mean, not maybe all of them during the residency, a total of more than 20 abstracts. I lost the count, maybe 25, 30, I don't know, so around that range. So it was really a pleasure, Gulshan, to work with you. So Gulshan, despite, had a long distance relationship with her husband for a few days, after a few years. A few days. So now they're getting closer. So she's doing a clinical neurophysiology fellowship in Brown University, so it's going to be closer to home in Boston. And we're going to learn a bit more about Gulshan, not only academically, but on a personal level.
Uh-oh.
So, I think her peers probably know her. So those who don't know, feel free to participate. So, Gulshan's hobbies.
Are we supposed to shout them out?
Other body points.
So, yoga. So stay balanced. Yoga. Travel.
Uh-oh, you didn't get to do much of that this year.
Watching movies. Okay, so here goes a question now, a trivia kind of thing.
Oh, brownie points.
So being the research lead, the word theory plays an important role in her hobbies. So one of her favorite movies has the word theory in it. So I give you 3 choices and tell me which one is her favorite movie. Okay. Chaos Theory, Ryan Reynolds, is a comedy drama. An obsessively organized efficiency expert whose life unravels in unexpected ways when fate forces him to explore the serendipitous nature of love and forgiveness. So this is choice 1. Choice 2, B. The Theory of Everything is a drama romantic movie, a look at the relationship between Stephen Hawking and his wife. And C is Conspiracy Theory, Julia Roberts and Mel Gibson, New York cabbie whose fascination with conspiracies in everyday life enmeshes him and a Justice Department attorney in a dangerous situation when one of his paranoid theories may indeed be true. So A, B, or C?
B.
B.
Or it could be A. Ryan Gosling.
You started smiling when you were talking about C.
Okay, so we have a split. We had B in dominance, and then it changed to C. Okay, so I don't want to make this into a couples show, but I mean,
Right answer.
so you are in the spot.
Just B.
It's B.
Okay. All right, so the answer is B. You can take a big sign. All right. Should I go for another one? All right.
You're on a roll.
Christopher Nolan, acclaimed British director. So this is apparently one of her favorites. One of his movies is one of his
Dark Knight.
her favorite. So from Christopher Nolan movies, Memento 2000 is a neo-noir psychological thriller, the story of an ex-insurance investigator who can no longer build new memories as he attempts to find the murderer of his wife, which is the last thing he remembers. So this is A. B, Inception, a professional thief who steals information by infiltrating subconscious of his targets. And C,
Dark Knight.
is The Dark Knight, is a criminal
It has to be
action
Dark
movie.
Knight.
Batman
Dark Knight.
joins force in a psychotic bank robber known as the Joker,
Thank you.
while the other forces plot against them.
It's Dark
A,
Knight.
B, or C?
Dark Knight.
C. I'm going with C.
She was staying out of it because I guessed wrong.
It's Dark
I'm
Knight.
not saying, I'm not hearing any strong,
No, you're not.
don't give it away.
It's Dark
Say the
Knight.
name, just the names again. Say the name.
Memento, choice one. A, B is, so Memento is a neo-noir psychological thriller. B is Inception, it's a science fiction.
It's
And
Dark
C
Knight.
is action criminal.
I'm just gonna go with
A.
Dark Knight.
Momentum.
She loves that.
Okay.
She loves Dark
So
Knight.
I'm hearing all over the place. A, B, C.
C.
All right.
C.
A, B, C. Okay. I hear everything.
C.
Final answer.
Dark Knight. C.
Okay.
Oh no.
So, all right.
That's a chill out.
So after the ceremony, see me after the ceremony. I'm gonna tell you where the Greyhound station is. So it was A. Okay. So it was momentum. All right.
Irene, you failed me.
So, yeah, thank you for listening to the long introduction. But after all, again, it was, it's a, and there is another piece actually I wanted to mention, but I think I'm going to probably leave the time is getting a bit too long. So it was another part of the food favors that we have some disagreement, but that's leaving for. So,
Must be bubble tea.
I wish you the best. It was a great few years that we worked in the department, and I'm sure that you will do great.
And you can continue to collaborate. I'm getting in on this.
That you made everybody laugh. And I wasn't sure he was going to succeed, but then he did, and I was like, damn it. Okay, so, typically how this goes is it'll be like, so if you have a subspecialty interest, then the person that, you've mentored you in that subspecialty interest is the person you reach out to. So you'll see some stroke people reach out to stroke people, neuroimmunology reach out to neuroimmunology, and then Kim was like, can you speak for me? And I was like, well, you know what I do, right? And she was like, not really, But anyway, so actually, it's really a privilege and an honor to be here, and just kind of be part of this process where you see people sort of transition to the next phase. And for Kim, I know Kim from when she was a medical student. So I remember talking about Kim in clinical competency committee, apropos of something completely different. You're like, hey, there's this med student. Her name's Kim. She's from here. I hope we keep her. And it was like, typically people will leave. We got Lee here. He stayed. These guys are in the minority. The people leave. But and then it was so great to see Kim then as a junior, and then juniors, and it's like, oh, I remember you. You're the one on rounds, right? And so the thing about Kim that I first remember, where it was sort of like there are people who are memorable and there are people who are not memorable.
Oh, thank you.
Not residents, typically cardiology. For who knows my story with cardiology. Okay, is that, so I was like, we're giving a little talk or whatever, and then I saw Kim with a piece of paper, and she was drawing this meticulous diagram of anatomy, and it was labeled, and I try to pay attention, so I'm like looking, wow, that's really good. So dude, I want her to do stroke, and that didn't happen. So I'm a little upset. That's a little upset. I'm upset about that. We can go through her CV, which is very impressive. Obviously, you can't be Kim and not get a bunch of accolades on your way through this process. So, Gold Humanism Award. You're a great human. She volunteers. She does the buddy walk with people with Down syndrome. She's doing this for several years. She's basically a saint that you've raised. Just FYI. Do whatever she tells you. She deserves it. And really, just I'm so happy to be here as part of this. And the great news is Kim's not going too far, right? She's going to Buffalo, and then you'll be popping in and being part of our service line and faculty, which really, to me, is super, super exciting and wonderful to see. So congratulations, Kim. And so you guys may have noticed some of the residents, you're getting this random pin with a card.
Dr. Izadyar is going to do a encore for McKenna.
Yeah, no. So Hisham, I'm sorry, both before you and after you.
You're done.
So, and I'm talking about the name. I'm
Say the whole thing.
Hold on, we'll be in a video.
No, I mean, it's actually, I felt so embarrassed not too long ago. I mean, that was her senior year, I mean, just a few months ago. And I was in resident clinic with her, and I'm talking to one of the patients and telling the patient, okay, so doctor, and then I blocked, I couldn't remember her last name, and she started laughing graciously. At least she didn't get upset, because when I was a resident, I kept getting frustrated and upset with the attendings that couldn't say my name, and it happened to me. So, I'm sorry about that. And I still cannot say, yeah, we leave it at the key. So, again, Akina is another example of residents that grew in this program and get the leadership during the senior year. She was the quality leader and did a fantastic job. So before seeing, when I came to the Upstate, I thought the most soft-spoken physician I've ever seen was actually the lead. Before I saw Akina. And Akina, so I'm gonna go back to the history. So she did her undergrad in University of Nebraska, and she made it to the dean and chancellor's list, both of them in her undergrad. And then she did a postbac in Washington University in St. Louis, and then the medical college, New York Medical College, for her medical degree. And after that, we were fortunate to again have Akina match with us during the residency. So Akina was very involved from her very early years of her, even in high school, but during her college years, and even continues during her residency, very involved in organizations and groups that work for underrepresented groups and minorities and groups that basically need a voice or representation and helping them. And that's very applaudable. So she was involved in, for example, these are just a few examples. I mean, there are many of these organizations and groups that she's involved with. like PASO, the Pan-African Student Organization, or for example, let me see, there's so many of them, Student National Medical Association, again, all helping the underrepresented groups, and she's still mentoring the students in the medical students who need help. And during the residency, she was very thorough and very reliable. This is one of the, as Dr. Bradshaw says, thinking about the words to say, this is not always that comes in mind with Bikini. It's very reliable, hardworking, dedicated, and compassionate. She is kind of radiates motivation and work ethics to anybody around her, whether again students or junior residents and even attendings around her. So she's so dedicated to patient care.
Nicely said.
So again, so a few examples of what feedbacks have faculty were written. So I was impressed by Kina's work as chief of service or service chief. She kept apprised of patient status and board services. She kept the team focused on safety and advocated strongly for patient needs. And she was very excellent bedside demeanor, exemplary bedside manners, and ability to diffuse conflict. It's evident that she was gifted with emotional intelligence and compassion, which is one of the best assets to have as a physician. And it was really a pleasure to work with you, Kenny. So she is going to do a clinical neurophysiology fellowship in Barrow Neurological Institute in Phoenix, Arizona. So this one was big. Okay, just hold on one second.
It's not
We're so
done yet.
excited. We're so excited.
I'm not done yet. We still have the trivia. Okay, so but it's not as long as Gulshan. So I'm going to give you 4 sports. And so which one is Akina's favorite, or what does she do? Curling, kickboxing,
She's nodding.
She's hiding behind the pole.
right? No. Tennis,
Yeah.
rugby,
Tennis.
Rugby.
Tennis.
Kickboxing.
Tennis.
I'm gonna go with rugby.
I'm gonna go with tennis.
I don't trust you. I have to
Play?
He said it was hard. What to do?
Tennis.
What did you say?
Rugby.
To do.
Okay.
Kickboxing.
Okay, so it's rugby.
I win.
Okay, or maybe it's more than one.
No, it's rugby.
So everybody, we're gonna, some of your peers were doing this. Kickboxing, you're trying to. Okay, so, then, so wonderful, Kenny. Congratulations, and okay.
I'm not as eloquent as our former speakers, nor as effusive, so I will keep it brief. But it's a great honor to speak on behalf of Fawad today on this auspicious occasion. So let me tell you a little bit about him. So Dr. Shah received his medical degree from Shiva College of Medicine in Islamabad, Pakistan in 2008. And then he worked as a house officer there, and then a medical officer at Abbas Medical Center thereafter. In 2013, he began what I must imagine a grand tour of the US medical system. He did observerships from Memphis to Massachusetts, from California to Florida. We were very lucky in 2015 that he came here to Syracuse. He joined Dr. Burke Jubel as a clinical research fellow, and he had the opportunity to work with him. And they were doing something close to my own heart, right, which is immunology and MS. You know, he was remembered by folks who worked with him as being bright and caring, Our retired nurse practitioner, Pam Kirch, wants to send her love to you. Her memories of an unflappable nature and bright attitude.
Yeah.
She sends you her love. As you know, Fawad joined our residency in 2018 after completing an internship here. He's been particularly known for his hard work ethic, his trustworthiness. Students and staff found him to be dedicated, approachable, and very positive, and I can certainly agree with that. In fact, some of you may know, Fawad bravely led the charge against the COVID pandemic when he's one of our first residents to go back to the medicine service and take care of those sick patients. In lieu of elective time. I was very proud that he faced that responsibility with the same character that he had demonstrated throughout his residency.
Right.
So not all of you may know about Fawad, but in addition to being a great neurologist, he actually has mad skills as a car salesman. And I think these are very complementary skills. Our patients are oftentimes skeptical of new diagnoses we give them. So I think if you can combine your skills and ease them into their diagnoses, I think you're going to be of great benefit to them. I'm very happy to say that Fawad is going to be staying here in the Syracuse area, staying with our family after graduation. He's going to be bringing these many admirable qualities to the St. Joseph healthcare system as their newest neurohospitalist. I'd just like to say that Fawad and his class are the first set of neurology residents that I worked with when I joined Upstate. So I've been able to see you guys grow from junior residents now to burgeoning neurologists, and I'm very proud of you all. I just wanted to tell you guys that.
Thank you.
On behalf of the faculty, staff, and patients, I just want to thank you for your 4 years of service.
Yeah.
Certificate too. I mean, it's something you had to do together, right? Surviving this. Yes. Okay, our next to the last graduate is Irene Siraj. Woo! And Dr. Jen Myers, our Associate Program Director, is going to speak on behalf of Irene.
So I didn't pepper yours with demographic information in the beginning, so I apologize. I knew that most people here would know you, so I didn't plan to give your whole backstory, but this is Irene, and she is a PGY4 resident that's about to graduate today, and she's from Canada, but she's also from Bangladesh, and she has taught me a lot about being in Upstate, so I'm going to tell you what I had to share. So Irene is actually one of the first people, or one of the people here that always puts a smile on my face when I see her. She was actually one of my first residents ever as an attending, and I was assigned to the ward service, and it was my first ever call week. And she was my PGY2 resident. So I was with her the whole time, and I was admittedly very nervous. It was my first week to be the face of neurology for her department. I was feeling a lot of pressure, some of it was self-inflicted, to impress all of my peers, many of which who were my teachers as medical students. So luckily, Irene was very supportive of me in that week, and I definitely blurted it out on the first moment that I saw her that it was my first week as an attending. And thankfully, she was very kind, and I believe her response was something along the lines of, "It's one of my first rotations in neurology too. We will figure it out together." And that's exactly representative of how Irene is. She is very much see the positive side of things. Let's get to it. That's her attitude. And we had a great week of interesting cases, and I believe we diagnosed a cryptococcal encephalitis that had been initially missed on CSF. So she and I got to the bottom of it together, and it was a very good experience. Since then, she has been one of my go-to people here. She is always kind, willing to answer my questions, and honest if she doesn't know. Her honesty is one of her most important qualities. She has the gumshoe mentality. She's gonna find it out. She doesn't know. She's even texted me, I think, after 10 p.m. about cases because she's so interested in what's going on. Irene is extremely generous with her time. She cares about her coworkers a great deal. She's opened her home to myself as well as a number of her colleagues. She even hosted Thanksgiving and made a turkey for all of us. And she coordinated a feast for all of her fellow doctors who were on call that holiday weekend. And we were very appreciative that she opened her home to us. She always gets excited about the interesting cases. She'll text me questions about neuromuscular diseases at all hours of the day. And she's very enthusiastic and a joy to work with. Of course, Irene is also extremely gifted as a physician, and her patients respond very warmly to her and know that she's dedicated to their care. She exhibits a calm and collected, I'm here for you air that will cultivate a long-lasting patient relationship, which is gonna serve her well in whatever direction she decides to take her career. I am very happy to say that she's going to be sharing my love of neuromuscular, and I'll be seeing her blossom into that role as a fellow, and she's gonna be down at one of our neighboring New York hospitals in Mount Sinai, and I'm just very, very proud of you, Irene.
Hi. You remember me from before. So, so Neil asked me to talk on his behalf, and I think everybody in this room knows about Neil. Neil is one of our chief residents in a class that's incredible. This is truly an incredible class. I mean, you guys heard the accomplishments. The other thing I think, well, let's talk about Neil. Okay. I was just gonna keep talking because there's some stuff I want to say about Kim that I didn't get to say. Okay. So I was like, well, Neil, take a chance. Let's talk about Kim for a little bit. Okay. So I heard about Neil before I saw Neil. So I was like around or whatever, and they were like, hey, there's this guy. He likes stroke. His name is Neil. He's really advanced. He knows a lot. I swear to God, that's what they told me. And I was like, okay, great. And then what I didn't realize is that you would kind of look like me too. I didn't know that. I didn't realize it. And so like we'll be around here or whatever, and then he's down in the angio suite with me, and they'll be like, there's a double take, or you'll see like some of the texts, and it's like, oh, that's so cute. Look at that. They're twinning, So Neil's kind of, Neil's someone I get a lot out of working with you, because I think he gives off this energy, and we all learn from each other, and some we learn more from than others. So Neil did not want to associate with me, is the long story. So he started to grow a beard, which you can see I'm trying to catch up. So things about Neil. So, I really want to share this story because I think it's, at least part of this too, but it's a really big thing just to kind of know the quality of this guy in terms of his delivery of care. So, we take care of stroke patients. Stroke patients have the most disabling symptoms. There is a therapy that really, really works. You have to select patients for that therapy, and that therapy is being selected on the ground by these guys in the room, these residents. So we have the best numbers. We treat patients really well. We get great time for treatment, and it's really because of this effort. Now, they get help, right? They get radiologists help, they get things like that, but they can't wait for that before they make a decision. And sometimes they get information from radiology that's not correct. But it takes a special mindset, not even mindset, it takes a special knowledge base and confidence to be able to see a discrepancy between an image and a patient at the bedside. And then to go over an attending's labeled read and say, nope, this is real deal, this is not damage that's already done, go in there and save it, call a surgeon, have that surgeon come in the middle of the night, and then have someone have an incredible outcome that I guarantee you would not have happened without that, because the bias was all going towards not getting this therapy. So, this is the quality of people that we have here. And I will tell you this with 100% sincerity, this is not something that I could foresee myself being able to do in your shoes at that time. So, really operating at a very high level and doing it with a level of humility that I like to keep close to me so that I learn from it and have it nearby. It's not all good. It's not all good. So there was a time, and is your wife here? She's not here. Okay. So there was a time where he was sporting a mustache. So he can do wrong. So I was, looking through his CV, impressive guy. Obviously, we can list it. We're not going to do it. But I find out the secret. One of the many secrets of your talents. Eagle Scout.
Of course.
Right here.
Of course.
So Neil is an interesting guy. He's our first. So he has an interest in stroke and stroke neurointervention and neurocritical care. And so he's like Rashid. He wants to go and get trained to eternity. But he's in our pathway. So we have this special pathway called the early stroke neurointervention pathway, where we embed this training of this surgical expertise, diagnostic and so on and so forth, embedded in the training program. Obviously, you can imagine the first person that is selected for something like this needs to be someone who can not only benefit from it, but really demonstrate that this is something that's viable and something that is important and can succeed. And so it really is only as good as its first graduate. And so it's exceedingly happy to have Neil in our program, and exceedingly proud to have him attach himself to me to some degree in the fellowship. Next year, he'll be our stroke fellow. After that, he'll go on to neurocritical care and bigger and greater things. With that being said, I'm going to ask to just hold this. Sir. So it's a good time to start a tradition, right? You got a first training program graduate, and so you get a jacket sometimes when you achieve something. So you host SNL 5 times, you get a 5-timers jacket. You take care of stroke patients, you minimize disability, you send people home that otherwise would not go home, and save them from a lifetime of misery. I'm sure that a jacket's the least I
UI2 class. So this is awarded to Ahmed Ibrahim. Odai Abdallah.
You want a photo?
Yeah, I love
Okay.
Just got the photo.
Somebody, his wife will want. Is your wife here? Yeah, there she is. She's got her arms. Great. Awesome. Congrats.
The PGY4 was Kimberly Last.
One more. Thank you.
My arms have never been in the way.
That's why I was like, arm down, please.
My arm flapping around. Of the Professionalism Award. All right, so we changed things a little bit this year. So this year we took feedback from all sources, sort of 360, not just from faculty, but also from students, from nurses, from other staff throughout the hospital.
Junior residents.
Including junior residents. So we shall start with our juniors here, and I'm pleased to recommend.
This is a tie.
That's right. We had
It's
a
a
tie.
tie.
It was very dramatic.
It was so-
There's so much professionalism that we had a tie. We're losing professionalism. So for our junior class, I'm proud to announce the Professionalism Awards for Ahmed Ibrahim and Christina Shaw. They're working very hard.
She's actually working. She's on call.
She's on
Christina's
call.
on. Christina's on the call with us.
Christina,
We love Christina. Congratulations.
Christina, congratulations.
For our next class, I'm very proud to announce that Arvin Reddy is our professor. Congratulations. Absolutely. So we get a picture here for us. And lastly, no surprise, Rashid Ahmed, come on up.
Are our fellows. The final award is for scholarship, and this is always challenging. We have quite a few residents doing quite a few things with abstracts, and some of them are doing longer term projects, hopefully leading to manuscripts. But the winner for the R1 class is Karen Phillip. Our two winner is not here today, I don't think, Carolina Quello Odiris. And our three winner, Russia. There's a co-winner, I'm sorry, there was a tie on this too. Get up here, Gulshan. On the certificates for our clinical neurophysiology fellows, Dr. Izadiar.
So Sharif, Alwan, Dr. Alwan, so my pleasure.
Can we get him up
So,
here?
All right. So Dr. Alwan is a native of Egypt. So he obtained his Bachelor of Medicine and Surgery degree from Ain Shams University in Cairo, followed by a master's degree in neurology and psychiatry. And he did a 6-month kind of mini residency in neurology in France, in University of South Paris, and then he went to Cleveland Clinic for a research fellowship in clinical neurophysiology and epilepsy and clinical epilepsy fellowship there. And since this is a small world, that's when I met Dr. Alwan there. So we were working together and we survived the case presentations of Dr. Najim there. We know who we're talking about. And and since then we have been, and again, I have done my residency in this country, so I stayed. So Sharif, after the fellowship, went back to Egypt and did another residency in neurology there, and then joined the faculty there, and was a consultant in neurology in the same university, Ain Shams University, before he decided again to come back and do residency here. And he has been stellar during the residency and during this 1 year that he has been with us for clinical neurophysiology. Sharif's career and training has spanned through 3 continents, right? So in Egypt, he has done many courses and training, and also in Europe, in Denmark, Germany, France, in epilepsy. And during this 1 year, we learned together. I learned a lot from Sharif. I never felt, again, during these few years, always Sharif was a friend, a colleague, and I'm really honored to work with you, Sharif, and Sharif is staying, hopefully if everything, the paperwork is in works, probably with Upstate, and so Sharif is just quick thing again, has always been regarded by peers, residents, faculty, as having excellent and skilled management in patients with epilepsy, especially, and patients with surgery with epilepsy. So again, I'm really grateful for the few years that we have worked together. Amar, I'm honored to work with you in this 1 year because as many of you remember, Dr. Awida was a resident of our program. And it happened, sometimes happens that when you are during the 4 years of residency, sometimes happens that as a faculty, you may not work with a resident very often. Your service months or weeks may not match, or in resident clinics, sometimes it doesn't happen very often. For some reason, whatever, it happens. And Amar, during 4 years of residency, was always like a mystery man to me. It was like, so who is that? Amar is like, yeah, I heard about him. So when he applied for, and I have to be honest with you, so when toward the end of residency, then he was talking about the clinical neurophysiology fellowship, and he asked me to write you a letter, and I asked him, are you sure you want me to write you a letter? I haven't worked with you much. So I asked around and asked Dr. Bradshaw, so what do you think about Amar? And she said many things about Amar, but one thing, good things. But one thing that after working 1 year with Amar, it became very quickly apparent and was very prominent, was that Dr. Bradshaw said he is a man of integrity. And that was very prominent. The very first few weeks that we worked together, I realized what I have not discovered in the past 4 years prior to that. So quickly about the background on Amar. So he obtained his Bachelor of Medicine and Surgery degree, again from the Ain Shams University in Egypt, a master's degree in clinical medicine, and he was a house officer in medical in medicine also in that university afterwards. Then he moved to the United States. He was a postdoc fellow at Case Western University and worked with prominent epileptologists in that center. He moved to George Washington University and under postdoc fellowship there before coming to Upstate and matched with Upstate to do residency. And again, the story I just said, and then the 1 year clinical neurophysiology fellowship. It was really a good year that I realized how many qualities Dr. Awida has in taking care of patients, how diligent and hardworking, and again, kind of under the radar, a physician that takes good care of his patients and very dedicated to health and building relationship with his patients. So Amar is going to University of Texas in Houston for a year of epilepsy fellowship. So wish you the best, and it was really an honor to work with you.
So we had 2 stroke fellows this year, and we hadn't had any stroke fellows last year. And this is the first year that I've been the fellowship director and actually had fellows. And so I was really psyched that Carlos was going to be the first graduating fellow under my tenure. So how long have I known Carlos? So I heard about Carlos before I saw Carlos. What I didn't realize is that Carlos looked like me. No, I'm kidding. So Carlos used to, and Yanni will probably remember this. Didn't he have the sweetest top knot like a samurai?
Yeah.
He was the coolest dude. He was the coolest. And so when I saw you, I was like, oh yeah, that guy's cool. I hope he does stroke. And it worked out. He lost the top knot, but he's dressed in black. It doesn't get cooler than that. He looks like Johnny Cash. Let's talk about what the stroke fellow does, because it's not a trivial thing. There is this perception that maybe our triage is based on imaging and other tools that don't necessarily need a human behind it, and we can use an algorithm. That's not the case. We talked about an experience that Lee and Neil had. There's one thing to kind of understand about stroke care is that it completely changed after 2050, and that coincides with his education as a resident. And so he was able to kind of see this evolution of stroke care. And not only was he able to do that, he was able to have our center, through your work and the work of your colleagues, sort of keep up to speed with the standard of care in the nation, and in many respects surpass it. And there are so many examples of how you can take that thread and link it directly to the fellow in terms of a patient outcome. It's actually incredible, like how one-to-one it can be. Carlos has an interest in endovascular, so him and we spend a lot of time together. I hope that you consider me a friend. I consider you a friend, a good friend, and I'm super happy that you're going to be a colleague of mine, and hopefully you won't escape. But I guess Neil is like it's an escape room, so he may help you. What I was going to say is just short at the end is we've had clinical. We got a lot of clinical patients, right, for stroke. And I think almost single-handedly, in the outpatient at least, we have a big stroke team with Stephanie and a bunch of other doctors and people. But, I think Carlos really stepped up with the fellows clinic and took the backlog to zero.
Yes, he did.
And so, I wouldn't even say that that's the most interesting thing that he's done, honestly. I wouldn't even say that that's the most biggest thing. So that's just an idea of how impactful he is. He's truly, you're married to an exceedingly talented man, and he gave me $20. I'm cheap. Okay. But anyway, he's going to go to Guthrie and elevate the stroke care in Pennsylvania single-handedly, and I'm so privileged to be just a small part of this, this journey, and we're talking about going on the road together. I think he needs a bass guitar player. I don't play bass, but I'll learn for you, Jeremy. So I'm going to ask you to. You know what this is, right? So it's a time for another tradition, so pardon me, guys. So this is, so if you're a stroke fellow, you're a little cooler than a S&I guy, right? So if you're cool, you wear black, right? We know that. Carlos wears black, he's cool. All right, so here you go, man. Trying to find out his size, because I was like, hey Carlos, what's your size, man? And he's like looking at me like, what is up with you? Did I get it wrong? He said large. Alright, well, okay.
Hey Sean, tell me what Adidas do.
Okay, so Neil, Neil and I were talking. And so let's talk about it. You're right. We should talk about it. It's the last, right? Rich isn't here. Okay. So I like tracksuits. My wife says that this is my, an elaborate scheme to get everybody to wear tracksuits all the time, just as an excuse for myself to wear a tracksuit, which may or may not be true. So Adidas. So we were talking about it with Neil, and Neil was like, "Oh, I got it. All day I dream of stroke." Reminds me. So a couple things. You're a fella, right? You don't get a jacket. You get the whole damn tracksuit. Too, right? All day you dream of stroke?
You don't always get a t-shirt and a tracksuit.
But wait.
You look at the sweat, and they have some comfortable shoes.
You get some Adidas shoes. My goal is to make you look ridiculous. Congratulations.
Hello, everyone. So, typical us fashion, we have some gifts we want to give out because as much as you guys appreciate us, we also really appreciate everything that you guys have put into everything that you've done up until this day and over these past 4 years. So the first gift we have is to John Reddy. He's hiding behind a post right now. The man behind the curtain in literally everything we do. He's a part of everything that's been going on, from the day-to-day, putting together presentations and our schedules, and he's just, we couldn't do this without you, so thank you very much. Next, our program wouldn't be what it is without Mary Phelan. So, we'll give some appreciation to her as well. We literally mean it when we say we'd be lost without you. We couldn't do this without you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, the words cannot describe what we could possibly say for Dr. Deborah Bradshaw, for what she means to this program. This residency wouldn't be what it is without you, and everything, tireless hours you've put in to just not our personal development, but also our educational learning. So thank you so much for everything you've done for us, and there's more written in these cards that are not able to be said right now. Thank you so much.
Did I get everybody?
Your handwriting's impeccable, Gulshan. So the next gift is to Dr. Mexico. Like I said, words cannot express. The neurology program would not be what it is today under your leadership as our chair. So thank you sincerely from our class for everything you do behind the scenes. Not only that. So our new additions as our assistant program director roles, Dr. Corey McGraw. Thank you so much for everything you've done, stepping in and bringing into and adding into with all of us individually. You're a ray of sunshine to this program.
Yeah.
I think I'm in enough pictures.
Welcome to our life. And last but not least, Dr. Jenny Meyer. Again, new addition, but we couldn't do this without you. You were very different. So you guys gave us all awards that were very meaningful from our students and from all the work we've done, but we also put together some awards for you guys based on our own criteria. So the first one is Jack of all trades, and this goes to Dr. Delete. Okay, so that's one. You do it all. All right, and the most organized attending, very coveted, is Dr. Azadiar. All right, the next one, most likely to own their own island, Dr. Dr. Calabres.
He's on an island.
He's on an island. We'll make sure that gets to him. So next, the most likely to have awesome snacks, Dr. Albright. You always have those great box of snacks that you're offering to people, and you have your own personalized gluten-free, making sure we're all fed. Oh, next one. And the best teaching attending goes to Dr. Masood.
You definitely need a picture.
Picture with everybody.
If you linger around enough to get a picture.
No, come here.
Where's the camera? Lee's gonna get it. Okay, Carlos is the. Awesome.
We give the attending we would want to hang out with outside of work the most, Dr. McGraw. Why did you do that?
Wow, you guys really did it up.
The next is the most efficient attending goes to Dr. Mexico.
Can I put this on my CV?
The next is the most mysterious attending, which was a tough discussion between us, but it goes to Dr. Simonescu. No, I don't believe it's here today, but again, keeping with the trend, most mysterious. The next is the best sense of humor award goes to Dr. Anil Kumar. Most likely to see at a concert, and most ironically, the most person likely to be at a concert is Dr. Bertino. And is this the last one? Yep. Okay. The last one is most likely to be the host of a radio show. Oh, there's another one too. Okay. Is Dr. Jalil. Because of their nice, soothing NPR voice. And the last one is the most likely to become an eponym is Dr. Latore.
Yes. Come on.